The Raiders are on the verge of a bold and unexpected move, a signing that no one saw coming. It's a name straight out of New York, a surprise target from the Giants who could completely flip the story of this season. After another crushing defeat, the atmosphere inside the Raiders' locker room is tense. The front office knows something must change, and fast. This mystery player could be the spark that reignites the fire in Las Vegas. But before we dive into the full story, before I tell you who's coming, why it matters, and how it could reshape the team's future, before listening to the latest news, subscribe to the channel, like it, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Let's move on to the new news. Las Vegas is reeling after a gut-wrenching 30-29 overtime loss to the Jaguars, a defeat that dropped them to 2-6. The pain runs deep after that failed two-point conversion that could have sealed the win. Injuries are mounting, the offense is running thin, and the need for reinforcements has never been greater. Now comes the twist. Reports out of New York suggest that Evan Neal, the Giants' massive 6 feet 7 inches, 340-pound offensive lineman, is suddenly on the Raiders' radar. Drafted 7th overall out of Alabama in 2022, Neal was once seen as a cornerstone for the Giants. But inconsistency and injuries derailed his momentum. Critics labeled him a disappointment, and now Las Vegas might see an opportunity where others see failure. Rumors hint at quiet trade talks, the Raiders possibly offering a mid-round pick for a chance to revive Neal's career under the desert sun. Why Neal? Simple: desperation and potential. The Raiders' offensive line has been battered all year, 19 sacks, broken pockets, and a quarterback constantly running for his life. Neal's raw strength and size could bring the stability and toughness this line desperately needs. It's not a guaranteed fix, but it's a bold move. A calculated gamble that might just reignite the fight in Las Vegas. Inside the Raiders' war room, the tension is thick. Their offensive line, once seen as a potential strength, is now a growing concern. Veterans like Colton Miller still anchor the front, but around him, uncertainty rules. Caleb Rogers, Charles Grant, and the rest of the young linemen have shown flashes of potential, but the lack of real game experience is starting to show under pressure. That's where Evan Neal could fit in. A mountain of a man with untapped potential, Neal represents not just a roster addition, but a second chance. In Las Vegas, away from the heavy spotlight of New York, he could finally breathe, reset, and rebuild his confidence. For the Raiders, it's a statement move. A declaration that this organization is serious about protecting its quarterback and rebuilding from the trenches, the foundation of any winning team. The clock, however, is ticking. With critical matchups on the horizon, the front office knows they can't afford hesitation. If this deal goes through, it won't just be another trade, it could mark the beginning of a new identity for the silver and black. But that's not the only headline shaking up Raider Nation. Just as fans begin to process the Neal rumors, another bombshell hits, this time on defense. Reports suggest that Tyree Wilson, the former first-round pick once hailed as the next cornerstone of the defense, might be on the trade radar. At 6 feet 6 inches and 275 pounds, Wilson entered the league in 2023 as a freak athlete out of Texas Tech, destined to form a terrifying pass rush duo with Maxx Crosby. Yet 3 seasons later, that dream hasn't fully materialized. His numbers, 3.5 sacks as a rookie, 4.5 the next year, and just 2 so far this season, tell a story of potential without dominance. Now, according to reports, Las Vegas may be considering the unthinkable, using Wilson as a trade chip before the deadline. It's a bold and risky move, but one that could reshape the entire direction of the franchise. At just 25 years old, Tyree Wilson still carries undeniable value across the NFL. Locked into his rookie deal through 2026, with a 5th-year option in play, Wilson remains a versatile defender capable of lining up both on the edge and inside. For playoff contenders in search of one final defensive piece, that kind of flexibility is gold. But for Las Vegas, the situation is complicated. Trading Wilson would send a powerful message that the new regime no longer believes in the vision of the old one. Yet keeping him without progress might be even riskier. Despite flashes of brilliance, the Raiders' pass rush has leaned almost entirely on Maxx Crosby, leaving quarterbacks too comfortable for too long. The problem runs deeper. Malcolm Kuntz, re-signed on a one-year deal, hasn't delivered the breakout season many hoped for. As a result, the Raiders find themselves scrambling for defensive answers. There's also a political layer beneath the surface. Wilson wasn't drafted by general manager John Spyc or head coach Pete Carroll, and in the NFL, that matters. New leadership often reshapes rosters to match their own philosophies. Carroll's defensive blueprint thrives on relentless speed, aggression, and chaos, qualities Wilson has shown only in flashes. That inconsistency might be what's fueling trade talks behind closed doors. According to insiders, Wilson could command a late second-round or early third-round pick. For a rebuilding franchise, that's a tempting return, one that could help fix a defensive front that struggled all year. If this move happens, it won't just be a trade. It will mark the first major statement of the Carroll era, a clear message that in Las Vegas, no one is untouchable except Maxx Crosby. And as whispers of change echo through the locker room, Crosby himself has finally spoken. After yet another heartbreaking 30-29 overtime loss to Jacksonville, frustration is boiling over. The team sits at 2-6, faith is fading, and the fan base is restless. But in the middle of the storm, Crosby's voice cut through, steady, defiant, and filled with fire. He promised that this team will not stay down. That this loss, painful as it was, could still become the spark that defines the Raiders' fight to rise again. The Raiders had the win in their hands, leading 26-23 with less than 2 minutes on the clock. But once again, heartbreak struck. A 48-yard field goal from Jacksonville tied the game, and in overtime, Trevor Lawrence, battling through illness, ran in the game-winning touchdown himself. It was another crushing finish for Las Vegas. So close, yet so far. After the loss, Maxx Crosby turned to social media, his emotions raw and unfiltered. "Raider Nation, I love you with all my heart and soul. You deserve more. Stay together. Things are going to change." Those words hit deep. Fans felt every ounce of his frustration, but also his belief. It was the kind of leadership message this team needed, real, honest, and driven by passion. And Crosby doesn't just talk, he delivers. Against the Jaguars, he was a force of nature, 4 tackles, a sack, 3 tackles for loss, defended pass, and a quarterback hit. Even as the season spirals, his energy refuses to fade. Across the league, insiders say one thing is certain, Crosby is untouchable. He's more than the Raiders' best player, he's their heartbeat, their standard, their symbol of fight. But his message, "Things are going to change," has everyone wondering, what kind of change is he talking about? Will it be roster moves, coaching adjustments, or a shift in mentality inside that locker room? Under Pete Carroll's leadership, accountability and effort have become the core values. Crosby's public words might be more than encouragement, they could be a challenge to every teammate to match his hunger. Trade whispers around names like Tyree Wilson and Jacoby Meyers keep swirling, but Crosby's presence continues to hold the locker room together. His message is clear, this isn't about surrendering the season, it's about demanding greatness from everyone who wears silver and black. The next few games will reveal whether that fire spreads. The Raiders' playoff hopes are hanging by a thread, and every snap now carries weight. But one thing Raider Nation knows, Maxx Crosby never quits. His grit, his loyalty, his relentless energy. That's the heartbeat of this team. And when he says things will change, those aren't just words. They are a warning to the league that Las Vegas isn't done yet. With the possible addition of Evan Neal, the uncertainty surrounding Tyree Wilson, and Crosby's unwavering leadership, the Raiders stand at a crossroads. This could be the moment everything shifts, the point where pain becomes motivation, and disappointment turns into redemption. The story of the 2025 season isn't over. In fact, for the Las Vegas Raiders, it might just be about to begin.